talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke Suggs.
Put your hands together for Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, Roger Craig, and Drew Brees. Mortals, now immortal. Your Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026.
Yeah, that from NFL Honors last night on NBC and NFL Network. And congratulations to those 5 incredibly deserving Hall of Famers. I mean, there is no knock on any of those guys whatsoever. They all deserve to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Obviously, the story, as usual, is about who didn't get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Sorry we're running late today. I think we typically make it up to you, normally the way that it works.
Just telling you, Glenn was in the bathroom.
That's exactly what it was. I was still getting
right. How do you feel?
Sardine fruitcake out of me. I shared this in a text last night with you and Jeremy, but I was fine. I had to go to the dentist yesterday, so I had to brush my teeth a couple of times, and I still had. I swear to God.
Well, this makes no sense.
The hygienist
don't
is
we
like
want them to do the work anyway.
And you know how annoying it is. Like the hygienist, she's wonderful. I like her a great deal. It's just that, I know.
You don't like the condescending comments?
Know, and she tries to say it in a nicer way. And in comparison to other places that I've been, she's not as bad, but they can't help themselves. Lady, I know. If I came in here and you could tell I don't brush my teeth, then it'd be one thing for you to be like, hey, you need to brush your teeth. I understand every now and then I might get something stuck back behind one of the molars. I get it. I know. I try. I floss twice a day. I'm a water pick guy because I have particularly sensitive gums, and so the traditional flossing hurts me more than other people. I got a history of bad gums in my family. I'm doing a lot of oversharing to start this show. A lot of things people don't need to know about me. But she definitely was like, there's a little something back here. Damn it.
Were you eating sardines and olives?
What is wrong with you, you psychopath? Well, then the problem, too, was, I normally don't eat during the day, which, all right, spare me, because I know a lot of people are like, what's wrong? Yeah, that's what's wrong with you. That's why you're... I just don't normally eat during the day. It's a very weird thing. So last night, we were taking my kid to Hibachi for his birthday. Well, there's nothing better than a trip to Hibachi. I eat things at Hibachi that I don't normally eat. I love Hibachi. And so they give you so much food, and then you're right on that line of is this enough that it's worth me taking home? Am I going to eat it at some point? Because, I don't bring in leftovers for lunch ever. So I'm like, if I take this home, is it just going to sit there? Is this enough that it's worth me taking home? And if it's not, I don't want to waste it because I know how much this is going to cost me. You're going through all that. And so I just ended up eating like a pig. Like a pig. It was outrageous. And my stomach is just like, dude, no. No, I've been through enough today. I've been through enough. It's a wild day. But I had a hiccup bout at the gym. I got to the gym.
Yeah, I'm sure that
had a bout, and that first hiccup was, I nearly puked in the middle of the locker room. It was that bad. Oh, God. I still have other parts of the bet that I have to pay off. We'll get around to that eventually.
Yeah.
Like this one. Coming up on the program today, we are going to talk more about the Hall of Fame and Marshal Yanda and Terrell Suggs falling short, as our friend Clark Judge is going to join us, longtime Hall of Fame voter and longtime NFL writer. He'll tell us a little bit more about the process that led to Marshal, Yanda, and Terrell Suggs coming up short of the Hall of Fame. Later on in the program, another one of our longtime friends, Tim Kurkjian. Both Tim and Clark Judge, former Baltimore Sun writers. How about that? Tim Kurkjian's going to join us. We'll talk to him about where the Orioles go after not getting Framber Valdez. We'll also talk with Tim about a really neat event next week celebrating Team Israel here in Owings Mills.
Or I think it's in Rockville.
It's in Rockville?
Yeah, the Woodmont, right?
Oh, is that where it is? Okay,
yeah.
Sorry. My apologies. So we'll talk to him about that. That's what we'll do. So that's all coming up.
Just trying to honor local journalism, this week.
I'm
That's
with
what
it.
we're trying to
I'm
do.
with it. I'm with it. That's coming up on the program. Now, obviously the two stories today, the Hall of Fame and the Orioles made a trade. I'll start with the Hall of Fame because or should I start?
I don't know.
Because Clark Judge is going to join us. I don't know what to say yet about Blaze Alexander. I have no clue. I'm with everybody. My initial reaction was, what the F? What? And I say that as someone who has talked openly about the fact that this team didn't have a utility infielder. We just brought it up yesterday, the odd construction of the team, that you have all of these positionless bats, and you literally didn't have a utility infielder on the roster. Jeremiah Jackson's an outfielder. He's really not an infielder. So they got that guy. And I'll even listen to the plus of they got someone specifically who is capable of hitting left-handed pitching. Now, I don't want to oversell that. I think a lot of people have pointed to some very specific numbers. In the minors, I had somebody say yesterday, Blaze Alexander can rake against lefties. I'm like, what does rake mean to you? Because there was a year in the minors where I do think he hit 300 against lefties. And that is raking. As a major leaguer, and I get that it's a fairly small sample size, he's had 396 career at-bats in the major leagues. I don't want to oversell that or suggest that that is definitive proof of what he is, but as a major leaguer, he's hit 269 against lefties, which absolutely is better than some of the guys, than Jackson Holiday, frankly. There are guys in your lineup that can't hit lefties at all. And Blaze Alexander presents a better, at least on paper, option. Now, to be fair, who was the guy who was the outfielder that they brought in because he hit lefties?
Tavares? No.
No, he's not on the team now.
Oh, that we
but he never
in the middle of the offseason?
No, he was on
year?
last year. Oh my God.
He played?
Jesus Christ. Or maybe it was the year before.
Austin Slater?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Austin Slater. God, I knew we'd get there eventually. Hey, man.
He played?
Yeah, I'm 42, bro. Sometimes.
That was 2 years ago. Yeah, he was on the 90 win team. Yeah.
Yes. But he was here because he could hit lefties. And, how did...
He kind of did, yeah.
He kind of did. That was exactly right.
Here, lead off.
It's part of the issue that you have when you look at someone and say, hey, their role is that they hit lefties. Maybe it's kind of hard to get going when you're not playing all that much, and you don't want to force them into the lineup because they don't really hit righties, and you only face so many lefties. If it was a vacuum of... Are you cool with acquiring Blaze Alexander or not? My answer would obviously be yes. I'm cool with acquiring Blaze Alexander. Yes. The problem is it's not a vacuum. It's that you had to give up from an area where you don't have a lot, someone who had been helpful in Kade Strowd, and another very live arm in that mix. I mean, they gave up 3, but the other one was Aracena, who everyone was talking about as being a live arm, with a good changeup as well, who was kind of the prize of when you traded Soto, was to get Aracena. That's a hell of a price to pay for a utility infielder that hits lefties fairly well. Again.
And people were pointing out that Strowd has options. And
yes.
Blaze Alexander does not.
Right.
So he's here.
He's here. Now, to be fair, somebody needs to be a utility infielder. So, that part doesn't bother me so much because who was the other contender to be this team's utility infielder?
And I guess it was Jeremiah Jackson.
And
right?
you were just going to force him to play positions that he's not really capable of playing.
I mean, if I guess like third base is the biggest depth hole. Like you have Westberg and and I mean, I guess there's no reason they would ever move Gunnar over there.
Yeah, Gunnar could play in a pinch, but then again, who's playing short?
Right.
Jackson Holliday's playing. Like you'd have to be doing a lot. Because if you want to say, hey, I think Jeremiah Jackson could play second base, okay, like well enough that you could shift everybody over if you had to. It's a stretch.
Right. I mean, yes, Blaze Alexander certainly makes it easier to the Ramon Urias thing, where just plug them wherever.
You needed a utility infielder. You've got a utility infielder. I'm not excited about it. I'm not trying to suggest that Blaze Alexander is a game changer, but you got a utility infielder. It's just that you traded from an area. Like if the trade was Aracena, I'd say, wow, that's a real live arm to trade for a utility infielder. But it's Aracena and Kade Strowd. And you can argue that maybe Kade Strowd was better than we could reasonably expect him to be. But
we're betting against that?
Yeah, what are your options?
Like, are we hoping his elbow blows up now? Like,
well, I mean, that's a different conversation. I'm saying, like, even if you think, like, hey, the more likely scenario is the Kade Stroud's not quite as good as he was a year ago. Okay, I can listen to that. But who is better? This is... You put the bullpen together that you put together. It is lacking. Seriously lacking. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Kittredge is obviously a part of it. Enns is a part of it. We're going back to... Rico Garcia, for moments last year, looked like a guy. In moments.
And I guess they're buying Rico Garcia, or
that's what we just brought up Rico Garcia.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they're buying Rico Garcia is better than Strowd, or at least they believe that the value you can get with Strowd is better. I don't know. You know, that's the the chess that they're playing.
I don't get it. On the whole, I don't get it. I can understand elements of it, but on the whole, I don't get it. Still. It's the trade they made. They now have a utility infielder. Maybe they still have moves to make. We all still think they need to acquire starting pitching. We know they probably need at least one more legitimate arm in the bullpen. I mean, it is a really weird picture that you're looking at in terms of what the Orioles have and what you count on. And again, I know that some of what the bullpen will end up being is that there's, a Suarez, for example, will perhaps end up being in the bullpen, but you think he's going to be in the bullpen as a long man who can be a spot starter.
You're waiting for the next Danny Coulomb to get cut on the day before opening day.
Danny Coulomb could be the next Danny Coulomb.
Oh.
It's real weird that you bring that up. Somebody that I'd be willing to bring back. Just a thought. Now, Clark Judge is going to join us in just a minute. Today's show is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. The biggest game is this Sunday. The best place to watch the biggest game is Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. 100-foot media wall, great food and drink specials, interactive activities and chances to win throughout the course of the game. It's going to be an awesome night for the biggest game this Sunday at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel. I do think it's a good thing that Terrell, Suggs, and Marshal Yanda were amongst the 7 finalists for the Hall of Fame. I do think that's if you want to take anything, a solace from the events of last night, that is good news. As has been pointed out, it means that they are guaranteed to be among the 7 finalists for next year. Now, next year's class is pretty loaded. We'll talk about it with Clark here in a second. It's Ben Roethlisberger. It's Adrian Peterson. It's Rob Gronkowski. All 3 of those, to me, are no-brainers, don't really need to talk about it all that much types. Although there's been a weird movement from a lot of people online that maybe Roethlisberger shouldn't be considered that way. I think because we saw him as much as we did, I think it'd be crazy if he wasn't considered that way, but...
For off-field stuff? Is that the only...
No, not at all for off-field stuff. Just because, earlier in his career, he was sort of more of a game manager.
Whitworth is next year.
Whitworth is not at all, even in the conversation of a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe he's a Hall of Famer at some point. Richard Sherman is close. I don't think he's a first-ballot Hall of Famer, but I do think he's a Hall of Famer.
Cam Newton, maybe it's just because these guys are on TV.
Yeah, Cam Newton's a very famous guy. He's definitely. I don't think Cam Newton's a Hall of Famer at all. Like I love Cam Newton, but he did not have a Hall of Fame career. He had an exceptional run, like an unbelievable run. Did not have a Hall of Fame career, and definitely, even if he were to get in at some point, there's no world where he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. To me, there's only 3 that can be first ballot Hall of Famers, but that starts the problem. If those 3 are, then
because you already shoot in Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown.
Right, exactly right. If those 3 are, then it makes it more difficult for anyone else who's a finalist next year. But I say all that to say, I do still think it's positive that they are right on the cusp. I think there are problems with the process. Like a lot of the screaming about Bill Belichick, it's more about the process than it is about the result. I think there's process problems. But whenever we talk about the Hall of Fame, we always turn to Clark Judge to try to find out a little bit more. Because of his schedule, he had to do it before the show today. So we'll get that to you right now. Clark Judge telling us about the Hall of Fame process right here on Glenn Clark Radio. Of course, the 2026 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame was announced last night. Bummed in Baltimore because Terrell, Suggs, and Marshal Yanda both came up just short, apparently among the 7 finalists, but not in the group that was able to get in for induction. Whenever we talk Hall of Fame, we always like to bring on our next guest. He is a Hall of Fame voter. You know him from the Talk of Fame Network and Talk of Fame 2. Longtime NFL writer and reporter. Our friend Clark Judge is back with us. Clark, it's Glenn. Always appreciate you, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us.
And former Baltimore Sun employee
right.
who covered the Baltimore Colts for 1 year.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Clark, just to get it out of the way for everybody, I know you are not someone who wants your vote to be known. You don't put it out there, and I respect that. And I told you that, and I said I wanted to talk about the process anyway. What can you obviously I know the Bill Belichick thing is a hotter button issue for a lot of people. We've been through it. We dealt with it. I obviously here am interested in the 2 names that I just brought up, and Willie Anderson was a Raven briefly as well, who I know was also a finalist, but. I wonder, it seems to me that it's less about those guys not getting in and more about the quality of the overall candidates that are making it difficult for a lot of guys to get in at the moment. Is that fair to say?
I think it's fair to say, but I think it's wrong because if you look at this class, my God, it's loaded. It's loaded. It's so top-heavy. You have Drew Brees.
Yep.
Rated second in a lot of passing categories all time. Larry Fitzgerald, I don't need to tell you.
No brainer, right?
Yeah. He was second to Jerry Rice, and so they're both first ballot guys. They got Luke Kuechly, Defensive Player of the Year, 7-time first team All Pro, played 8 years. I mean, and then you got Adam Vinatieri. I mean, some people think he's the greatest kicker of all time. I don't like saying that stuff because there's stuff in the past that we don't know about. I mean, Mark Mosley was a MVP in 1982. He was the kicker for the Redskins. So you got Adam Vinatieri, the all-time leading scorer. That's your modern era class? Boy, that's pretty hard to poke holes in. And so in the past, people would always say, well, this guy didn't get in, that guy didn't get in. And I'd always tell them, then you tell me who you want to throw out from this class. So tell me who you want to throw out from those modern era players. And you can't. And listen, in terms of Marshal Yanda and Terrell Suggs, I think you should be doing jumping jacks in Baltimore because they've got a ton of eligibility left, something like 18, 17 years, something like that. And yet they're in the top 7. So they're grandfathered into the top 7 for next year. They are for the top 7 who don't make it are grandfathered into that next year as finalists. So they're moving forward. I would be more concerned if I were a Reggie Wayne fan or a Torrey Holt fan. They move backwards. So you've got people who are going up. Marshal Yanda's an offensive lineman. It really is tough to get behind them for first ballot unless they get a lot of attention, notoriety. I realize how good he is. That's why he's a top 7 guy. He's going to go in sometime. But you want to take him, I would say to you, you're going to pick him over one of the 4 guys who just put in. And what you have to understand is we go down to 7 and cut from 7 to 5. And those 5 who could get in have to have 80% of the vote, each one of them. But if you do the math, guys start cannibalizing each other. So, yeah,
right.
Marshal Yanda, but he wasn't the only offensive lineman. Willie Anderson was, too. So maybe I vote for Willie. Maybe I don't vote for Marshall. Maybe it's the other way around. Probably rarely that vote for 2 with trying to get 5 guys in, so at the same position. And Terrell Suggs, I would think he's going to be on the short list for the next coming years. But take a look at what's around the corner. I mean, for next year.
Oh, it's Roethlisberger and, Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson.
Right.
Yep. And Gronk.
Yep.
And Richard Sherman. You go down the list. You go, whoa. And suddenly what you realize is we're getting a logjam of really, really good players. And the guys just below the surface, semifinalists, can't move because no one ahead of them is moving. So I know this is not popular in Baltimore. I'm a huge Hines Ward fan. I think Hines Ward is, I would vote for him over the two wide receivers.
Very
right
unpopular in Baltimore.
Yeah, I know. But Hines Ward could do it all. I mean, he could catch, he could run, he could throw, he could block, he could do everything. And I watched him on those great Steelers teams, and he did everything. And I realized what he meant to them in key situations. And I go back to, I think it was the 2010. Was it 2010? I don't know. The Steelers 2009. Anyway, they were playing. I think it's 10. Anyway, they're playing the Jets in the championship game. It was 3rd and 8, I think. 3rd and 8, and it's less than, like maybe a minute left. Jets had no timeouts, and they just taken their last one. They have no timeouts. They're 3rd and 8, and they're at midfield, I would say, and I'm talking about the Steelers. And so the question is, what are they going to do? And I said, you got to run the ball. I mean, because the Jets have no timeouts. They threw it. They threw it to Hines Ward. That's why they knew they could get first down. And I thought that just showed me everything I need to know about a player without looking at stats. How much trust you have in him to make the big play. Told me about Roethlisberger. Told me about Ward. And since we mentioned Roethlisberger, and I don't want to get off on this because you mentioned Suggs, but there was a play with Suggs that I remember, and you might too, because it happened in Baltimore, Sunday night game. And the Ravens and Steelers are playing, and Polamalu forces a fumble late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Steelers are deep in their territory. I think on the first or second down, and it's they're somewhere like, I'm going to guess the 15 or somewhere in there. They're probably from the red zone. Roethlisberger rolls left, and he's looking for someone, and Suggs is on him. And, so Suggs has got him. He's going to bring him to the ground. But he doesn't. Roethlisberger held fast, moved the ball to his left hand, and threw an incomplete pass. And I looked at someone and said, it's one of the best plays I've ever seen. Incomplete pass. Anyone else would have gone down in 2 seconds. He had the presence of mind to move to his left hand, but also he didn't go down because he's so big, and he got rid of the ball. And then the next play, I think they threw a completion. They got the winning touchdown. But anyway, that's sort of the magic of those two guys. But Suggs is going to get. He is a great player. The all-time eighth all-time leading sacker. Everyone ahead of him is in the Hall. Yeah. And of the 5 people behind him, only one's not, and that's Von Miller. And that's because he's still active. So anyway, he's going to get in. And I think this preoccupation with first ballot is getting people off kilter. They're going to get in. Yanda's going to get in. Suggs is going to get in. You're just going to have to wait because there's so many people. We're sort of jumping the line, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe we've got to be more patient with some of these so-called first ballot guys.
We can quarrel about Hines Ward. I would never argue. Look, as much as we don't like Ben Roethlisberger in this city, we know. We are maybe more aware than anyone else of his greatness, and so there's no doubt in my mind that he's a first ballot guy. Now, as you bring that up, and Clark, I everything that you just said, I completely understand. I guess my question would be, because I agree with you, Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, they're the types of guys that you stand up, you say their name, you sit down. What are we talking about, right?
But let me ask you this: did you see the amount of time it took to discuss this?
No, I didn't. How long was it?
Well, because you go on Facebook because I posted it. I did a long, but Fitzgerald took 20 minutes. Brees took 16, and you have a minimum 5-minute. You have a 5-minute presentation, so I can represent you for 5 minutes, all right? But that's a max. But I could do it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. So Brees is presented and now open for discussion. The total time was 16 minutes. Why do we need to discuss this guy? And Larry Fitzgerald, the same thing. I think the presentation was like 4.5 minutes. Okay, like, are we going to have anything to say? 20 minutes. What are we doing?
I'm with
it's Larry
you.
Fitzgerald.
I'm with
Come
you.
on,
There's
guys.
so little to say. You ever seen him?
But that's the beauty of it.
Right.
I mean, that's the beauty. You never know what you're going to get.
I am. By the way, it's up. If you go to Clark Judge's Facebook page, you can link to his story. It's at rejack.com about this class of Hall of Famers, and it does have all of the times, the length of time that all were discussed. Unsurprisingly, the longest two, Bill Belichick and Eli Manning, but I'll let you go see the exact amount of time, and you can read all about it there, and we'll link that up on our Twitter account as well, at Glenn Clark Radio. Clark, I only bring that up with Terrell Suggs because I think what flummoxed me, I covered Terrell Suggs' entire career. I didn't know that he finished his career with more TFLs than any player in football history. Like, I did not know that. Right. And that, to me, said, all right, maybe he is someone who should have been a first ballot guy. Like, that is an amazing statistic to have more of than any player in football history. And I think there are people here who wonder if what the difference is maybe some of the off-field stuff and the incident in Arizona where he pulled out the gun. And I know the bylaws say, like, that's not supposed to be the story, but is that part of the story at all when it comes to Terrell Suggs?
Absolutely not. Never mentioned, and I'll be honest with you, I'd forgotten that until you just mentioned it. So never mentioned, and it shouldn't be. And so because the bylaws say off the field behavior can't be mentioned. If it were, I mean, we probably get rid of a number of people who you could quickly think of. But that's not the case. He's got momentum and he's moving forward. As I said, that's the way it should be. You know, there were some questions. People wondered why Jared Allen had to wait so long. Well, I mean, Kevin Green at one point was, I don't know what he was in terms of, like, third leading sacker at one point, third or fourth leading sacker. And he waited something like 12 years to get in. And he did. But the fact of the matter is, the bottom line is, they're going to get in. And in terms of the TFLs, the only thing I'd say there is, how many people were charting that in the 1990s, 1980s, 1970s, and nobody was. And so, did Deacon Jones have it? I don't know. But that's absolutely something in his favor. And it was mentioned. Don't worry about them. Just don't. Both of them will make it. And when they do, you guys will be happy. You won't even be talking about this.
Clark, you bring up obviously nobody's questioning the four guys that got in. There is no debate about any of them. Like, I mean, Luke Kuechly is as good as anyone. I mean, he's in the Patrick Willis, like Ray Lewis. Not quite Ray Lewis, but that conversation, right? Like, there's no debate about it. Adam Vinatieri, same deal. I think the only question people have is that it's only 4 and not 5, right? And I get it. I know that since the rule was changed, so there are 7 finalists, this is inevitable, right? Like, there's just somebody like Terrell Suggs more, somebody like Marshal Yanda more, and that prevents Willie Anderson from getting a note. I understand how it happens. I know that there were complaints from Deion Sanders and others that, like, maybe these classes were dropping a little bit in quality. I never felt that way. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the Hall of Fame that doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Is it maybe problematic that it's gone to this and it's making it so that it's unlikely to get 5 candidates in really ever again in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. Problematic, I think that's up for the Hall to decide. I know they felt they wanted to make it more exclusive, quote unquote, because that's what they said in a email and when they made the changes. And I don't think they were wrong. I mean, I do think we had lowered the bar some. I remember what Sanders said. I didn't agree with a lot of it, but I thought he's probably right about this. And we need to be maybe more discriminating. And I thought there were some cases where there were guys, I'm not so sure. But that's my own private opinion. And the room rules, and it's 80%. And so, but when you do the math from 7 to 5, it doesn't bother me there as much as it does with the seniors, coaches, and distributors, because that's 5 into 3, and we can talk about that another time. But that's brutal. Here, I think it's pretty good what they've done, with one exception. I mean, we had 3 last year. We had 4. I'm talking about modern era. 4 this year. Typically, we had 5, right? We had 5, and then one point was 6, but we had 5 modern era. And so it's one less. That doesn't bother me. What does bother me is the fact that nobody behind them is kind of moving. And so we have all of a sudden these star-studded classes moving forward. Brady's coming up after next year in 2028. And so we have these star-studded classes coming up, and there's just no movement. And so how do you fix that? And I don't know the answer to that unless you were to do something like, okay, we have 7, take your top 5, and when the top 5 come out, let's vote them up or down individually,
right.
80% of the vote. But instead, when we're doing this now, as I said, they tend to cannibalize each other because I'm voting on 7, trying to get to 5, and I'm putting Willie Anderson against Larry Fitzgerald. I'm putting Marshal Yanda against Willie Anderson. I'm putting Terrell Suggs against, so it's a choice there. And all of a sudden, then you say, well, okay, maybe Terrell Suggs was the 5th guy. Maybe Yanda was, or Willie Anderson was. But they had to have 80% of the vote. And that makes it tough because once you start pitting them against each other, 50 people, it's really tough. And I think nowhere is that more apparent than with the seniors and the coaches and contributors. I thought the idea initially was good when they did this. And then when I realized with the coaches, contributors, and seniors, that was going to be damn near impossible because the coach and contributors were put on the same level as the seniors. They were separate categories. And we basically have almost no contributors left who would get traction. We had plenty of people who could be nominated but couldn't get no traction. Last year we had the founder of the league, Ralph A. He didn't make it. The founder of the league. He didn't make it. And we had Mike Holmgren last year. He didn't make it. All right, Bill Belichick this year. Didn't make it. Robert Kraft didn't make it. So who's left?
Right.
Maybe a handful of coaches. I can't think of a contributor. The one guy I'd say is Bucko Kilroy. But if the founder of the league and Robert Kraft can't make it, what do you think Bucko Kilroy's chances are against seniors? So the thing I would propose is, okay, let's do it again the same way. 5, pick 3, but throw them all in the same pile. That's what we did with them before 2014 or 2015 class, actually, but they made it 2014. They created the contributor category, separate category. So now they were totally apart from the rest of the people. So we had then the senior, the modern era, and the coaches, and the front office people, owners. They're all taken together. But the contributors were taken separately. They were separately. So they were, and so that's where a guy like Don Coryell, for instance, got in. And you saw some of the people, Art McNally got in. But make all of them together because we've got 68 all-decade players who are in the senior pool who are waiting to come out. And I would mention guys to you, you're probably too young, Glenn, but
Mike Curtis is someone we talked about a lot. I know.
Okay, there you go, Mike Curtis. But Jimmy Patton from the Giants.
Sure.
First team, 5-time first team All-Pro. 5-time first team All-Pro. Can't get a sniff. Del Schaffner from the Giants. How about Al Wister from the Eagles? Played 9 years. 8 years, first team All-Pro. 8 of his 9 years. Twice he was a league champion, captain of the Eagles team. Twice. And is an all-decade player. He can't get a sniff. That's because he played 1940s and early 50s. The seniors pool is so loaded with people. And then, as I said, the contributors, you basically don't have anyone left that can get traction. The Kraft can't get in, and Hay can't get in. And the coaches, okay, Belichick's going to get in. In fact, they may just propose him next year. He'll get in. I know that. But then after them, what? Maybe Coughlin, maybe Shanahan. We voted down Mike Holmgren. Who's left? I mean, so we're putting them on the same level of the seniors. That's 68 over here, and a handful in one, and none in another. But we're doing that. So what I'd say is, here we do. Put them all in the same group, all of them. I don't care what you call it. All right, non-modern era players, whatever. They're all in one group, and then you vote on 3. And when you pull those 3 out, they don't have to each have 80%. Vote them up or down. Right. So let's just say these 5 guys come out this year, right? And let's just say the top 3 vote getters are Belichick, Anderson, and Kraft. Yep. Okay? Now you vote up or down each one. They're not pitted against each other. They're not.
Yep.
They just go up or down, 80%. Makes it easy.
I completely agree with that, and make sure you get the 3 because obviously in this blue ribbon thing, it's been back-to-back years and only one's been able to get through. And again, as everybody was yelling and screaming about Bill Belichick, I think the point that a lot of people made is it might not really be about Bill Belichick. It might be more about L.C. Greenwood. Like
there you go. I'm glad I found a receptive ear because you think the people in Cincinnati are happy? No.
Right.
The people in Pittsburgh, L.C. Greenwood was a great player. That Steelers team of 1976, which didn't get to the Super Bowl, The last 9 games, they won them all.
Right.
In those 9 games, that defense allowed a total 8 points fewer than the Denver Broncos gave up in the second quarter against Washington in the Super Bowl of 1987. So I mean, it's astounding. Well, they must have been pretty good. And now they've got what happens? He doesn't have a chance because it's Steeler fatigue. They've got 5 starters in the Hall of Fame, and people say, "Well, you want to put them all in?" Well, yeah, I think I do. But Elsie Green was a great player. But unfortunately, he's collateral damage from Steeler fatigue, and that makes me sad. The Anderson thing makes me sad. They're Hall of Fame worthy candidates. I covered Roger Craig. I covered the 49ers. Absolutely, he belongs.
No
I'm
doubt.
very happy he got in.
Yep.
But to me, I agree with you. It's sad that for 2 straight years, out of 10 people, we got 2.
I just, if I could, to wrap up, because this is relevant to us locally, we, John Harbaugh has departed Baltimore. He's gone on to New York. And sometimes we'll kind of flippantly say, well, John Harbaugh is a future Hall of Famer. And I wonder if that's definitively true, or if that's still something that he has to prove as he heads on to New York at this point.
Well, apparently he's not. We just rejected Belichick and Mike Holmgren. And then Buddy Parker before him. Buddy Parker won 2 NFL championships, 4-1 against Paul Brown when he was coaching the Detroit Lions when Buddy was coaching them. But no, I don't like that term, future Hall of Famer. I don't like that term because I've heard people throw that thing around so liberally.
Yeah.
It really, I think, tarnishes the Hall of Famers. I mean, future Hall of Famer, I heard somebody, honestly, no kidding, on national TV called Stephen Gostkowski, a future Hall of Famer,
What?
former Patriots kicker.
What?
So, yeah, a future Hall of Famer. So, John Harbaugh certainly would be in the conversation because, first of all, what he did in Baltimore and what that organization has done is remarkable.
Yeah.
I love what the Ravens do. I thought he did a great job, even this year with all that was going around. I just thought he did a great job, and he's certainly a worthy candidate. He will get discussion. He will probably be a guy on the short list. I have no idea whether he'll get in or not. I probably won't be around then, but it's a really discriminating board, as it should be, because it's not the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Fame, and there are a lot of Hall of Very Good coaches out there. You can think of them, but every time something comes up like that, they go, "Oh, future Hall of Famer," and I've heard that said about Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan. And Phillip Rivers is a guy I covered at San Diego. I love the guy. He's a really good player, but he falls short. And same thing with Matt Ryan, and he falls short. And it would take a while for me to detail why, but what you end up saying is, well, you can put all the quarterbacks in. You want Russell Wilson? I mean, we're going to put Russell Wilson. We're going to put Rivers, Matt Ryan. How many guys we're going to put in there? They've got to be the very best of their era, and that's where the Eli Manning conversation comes in, because I know what he did, and I think I've said this to you before, and I've made this clear at times in other that I've written, and I've talked to you before about it. But to me, he's a really, really good quarterback who did wonderful things with the Giants and had Hall of Fame moments. But I don't think he had a Hall of Fame career. That's me. That's just me alone. My opinion. But there are others who feel very differently, and that's a hot button too. So I'm surprised people aren't demanding names and numbers of voters who might have voted against Eli Manning. But that's a hot button issue too, and that's for another day for you and I to talk about. But that's the sort of thing that I really feel it comes down to that, and I'd have a hard time being talked out of that.
Clark Judge, what should we plug for you, my friend?
No, nothing right now. Nothing. I mean, I'm taking time off. We took our site down the end of at late summer because my partner unfortunately had personal issues, family issues, and in the risk area. So he said, I can't do this anymore. I said, I can't do it alone. And actually just sort of stepping away for a while has been a relief. I wanted to write something on this because this is the time of year when I feel passionately about what's going on. I feel passionately about it anyway. I love the Hall of Fame process. I think it matters. I've seen the effect it's had on these individuals, and it's something that I consider to be one of the pinnacles of my career. So I love doing it. But to do it daily, as what I was the past, 5, 6, 12 years, whatever it was. But it just it was too much. So I want to step away and actually sort of take care of my family and my home here, and it's worked out well. I write occasionally, but more active in sort of local things than they am national.
Clark Judge, we did link it up for everybody to check it out on our Twitter account. Always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for hopping on with us today. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
You bet, Glenn. Thanks very much.
Great thoughts from Clark Judge about the process, and he also obviously is encouraged that Terrell, Suggs, and Marshal Yanda will get in. Just frustrating that they have to wait, and they keep bringing it up. Terrell Suggs, the most TFLs in football history, which just feels like that should be a more noteworthy number in terms of someone getting in very quickly to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But was among the 7 finalists. Hopefully next year is the year. It's not going to be easy because it is a crowded class. Talk some Orioles and also a little bit about Team Israel in the World Baseball Classic, which is an odd but local-ish sports story too. Tim Kurkjian from ESPN joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio. Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
At Live, we want to say thanks to our community with our biggest giveaway yet. Thanks a Million free slot play giveaway. Join us every Friday in February for your chance to win a share of $1 million in free play, including a grand prize of $75,000 in free play. You could be one of 25 winners each week. So what are you waiting for? Thanks a Million only at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website CostasInn.com for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. Scores, schedules, rankings, and as we get into championship season, updated brackets, you can find it at countysports.zone. Countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Always appreciate our next guest taking time for us. We're going to talk some Orioles, talk some baseball, but we're also going to talk about a free event coming up next Tuesday night in Rockville as part of Team Israel announcing their roster for the World Baseball Classic. Joining us now here on GCR, he is our friend Mr. Tim Kurkjian, and he's back with us on the program. Tim, it's Glenn. It's always good to chat with you, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Oh, my pleasure, Glenn.
Tim, I have a lot of friends that are involved with Team Israel baseball. I don't think people realize it's half a local story, really, between Adam Gladstone and so many people that are involved. How did you get involved with Team Israel baseball, and how unique of a story is it, what Team Israel is doing, and how they've kind of galvanized, I think, a lot of, and not just Jewish baseball fans, but particularly Jewish baseball fans?
Yeah, well, Adam called me and asked me if I'd be interested. And of course, I'm always interested in helping, especially on a cold February night. Anytime it's good to get together and talk about baseball. You know, I know some of the people involved, of course. Brad Osmus, I've known forever. Ian Kinsler, I've known forever. Barry Weinberg, who will be speaking on Tuesday night also. Barry was the trainer for most of Tony La Russa's teams, and Tony once told me that back when people used to steal signs all the time, he would have Barry deliver the bunt side or the steal side once in a while, because nobody's looking at the trainer. They're looking at the manager, they're looking at the pitching coach, the third base coach. So Barry Weinberg, the trainer, would give the sign. I just love, that's how baseball used to work a long, long time ago.
Yes, that is a really cool story, actually. Brett Hollander, of course, is going to be a part of this event, and it's free, and it's the roster reveal for the World Baseball Classic for Team Israel. It is Tuesday night at Woodmont Country Club. If you go to israelbaseball.org right now, you can register, again, for this free event with a great panel, including Tim, talking baseball, and just having a great night next Tuesday night as they announce the roster for Team Israel, which is really cool. Tim, where are you? I have to admit, I'm kind of an old fuddy-duddy when it comes to the World Baseball Classic. I just don't want any of the players on my team to get hurt, and I don't care enough about it. It's not – I don't know. I don't know how to explain this. It's not like a real-world championship. It's just a fun exhibition event to me. Where are you with the World Baseball Classic on the whole?
It's really growing on me. When it first started, Glenn, I grew up in the 60s. 68 Olympics were the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my life. So it's not the 68 Olympics. It's not the Olympic Games, but it's really cool now. And it has grown on me every year. And now that the United States is in, for the most part, with both feet, and the Mike Trouts of the world who couldn't wait to play in the last one, that always tells me that things are going in the right direction. And when others are signing up as quickly as they have been, that's a really good thing too. And it's really, I think it's great pride for this country that we look and say, the Dominicans, Cubans, Japanese, those guys are great. If we're going to beat them and we're going to win this thing, we need our best players. So I really, really like it, but it has grown on me, and it will continue to grow.
Obviously, Gunnar Henderson's going to be part of Team USA this year, and Dean Kramer, we know, is going to be part of that roster that's revealed by Team Israel on Tuesday night. Tim, obviously a lot of disappointment in Baltimore this week as Framber Valdez had continued to be connected to the Orioles. He ends up going to the Tigers instead. Mike Elias had said at the beginning of the offseason that the Orioles were going to look to upgrade the top of the rotation. That he didn't sort of mix words. He was very clear about that. If that is the qualification, can they still do that with what is still left out there?
I'm not sure they can. I mean, I think obviously Framber was the key guy, from one of the key guys from the start and the key guy at the end. This just goes to show you Detroit is not messing around. I think their payroll for their starting rotation alone is $97 million. And just another reminder what Earl Weaver used to tell me all the time when I covered the team in Baltimore. He said, you figure out this year, you try to win this year, you figure out next year. And the Tigers are going for it. Mm-hmm. I thought the Orioles were going to get Framber. I thought he would be a perfect addition to the top. I don't know if there's anybody out there that's going to give them a pitcher of that caliber. But I still think with all the other things they've done, they're a They should be a significantly better team than last year, and they should be vying for a playoff spot of some sort in September. Even with not getting him, I still think they're in a position to do that.
Let me ask twofold. Tim Kurkjian with us on GCR. Even if we say they're not the top of the rotation guys that are left, is there any one of this group that you would be most inclined to say, but I think that would be an impact move if the Orioles were to add, whether it's Bassett or Gallen or Verlander, I guess, is still in this equation. Like, is there somebody in that group that you still think really could make a significant impact for this team?
Yeah, well, look, Verlander can still pitch. That's amazing. But Bassett and Gallen Bassett was a good pitcher last year and has been, and his understanding of the job is like very few pitchers in the game today. And Zach Gallen, started the All-Star game a couple of years ago. So I would be thrilled if I were the Orioles, if I could get, one of those guys. Maybe there are only 3 starters, but if you get a 3 and you got enough, if you got a 1 and a 2 and 4 3s, you got a chance. And that's what the Orioles could do if they were to sign one of those guys. But again, we get this late. Spring training is a week away. All sorts of people are going to be interested in one final arm because we know just how many pitchers get hurt during the course of a season.
Do you get the sense there's still any more trades to be made, or at this point do you feel like the Twins are saying we're not doing it, like that the trades that were there to be made have already been made, that everybody else is sort of going with their guys?
Yeah, that's the way that I see it. But Glenn, we know things change like every day. And what happens is you get to spring training, you get a look at somebody and you say, all right, this isn't going to work. We thought this guy was, further along, whoever the guy is, and we thought he would be our number 2 or our number 3, and suddenly he's not, or he's not throwing as well as we thought, or we have a much more pressing need than we thought we did when spring training began. So anything is possible during spring training, but my guess is there will not be a major trade involving a starting pitcher before spring training begins for 30 teams.
You bring up, Tim, that the Orioles are still a playoff contender, and I very much agree that the Orioles are a playoff contender. I guess my question is, if there isn't another significant pitching addition, can they be a championship contender, or is there just not enough there for them to be able to do that as constituted?
Yeah, this doesn't look like the AL pennant winner to me at the moment. Now, again, the beauty of baseball is Toronto didn't look like a playoff contender halfway through last year and should have won the World Series. So anything is possible in this beautiful game of baseball. But just because you open a season with one team doesn't mean that's the way you're going to finish. And with as aggressive, for the most part, as the Orioles have been in the offseason, if they get to the trade deadline and they're right there and they are one really good player away, one really good pitcher away, it's going to be a hard time convincing people all right, we're not going to do anything else. If you get this far and you get yourself back into contention and you need one more guy, you can always get it. I think that's where the Orioles could be at the trade deadline.
I agree with that. I think a lot of people have looked at the free agent class of starting pitchers next year and said there's going to be a lot of guys, and I just don't like. Do the Orioles have the horses to go get I'll just put it out there because it's we're in crazy town. If I get it now that they have Valdez, it seems like the Tigers are going for it. They're going to try to win. But if they get to the deadline and it's not going well, could the Orioles make that move for Terrell Skubal, or is that kind of crazy to throw that out there?
Well, he's making $32 million a year.
I know.
Yes, he's the best pitcher in the American League, period. They haven't won the World Series since '84. If they're going for it, they have to go for it with him. The only way they're going to trade him, and we all understand the money coming up and the free agency, and logically the best thing to do would be to trade him, but who's going to have enough to afford what it's going to take to get Terrell Skubal, pay him that kind of money, and you're essentially you potentially could lose him after 1 year. It's a fascinating story what's going to happen with him, and I just don't think the Orioles have the horses right now to go get Terrell Scooble, and I just don't think the Tigers are in the mindset to just trade him right now because, I mean, we all know logically it's probably the best thing to do, but when you got a chance to win, you got to go for it.
Tim, we were all caught a little off guard yesterday when the Orioles traded, and I know they needed a utility infielder, and I think Blaze Alexander fits for a bunch of different reasons. He hits lefties, and the Orioles needed that, and they did not have someone that could play all of the infield positions. Jeremiah Jackson is not that guy, but they traded from their bullpen and a guy who had actually pitched well a year ago in Kade Strowd, and on paper, their bullpen looks really thin. Are you surprised that they haven't given more priority? Of course, Helsley, they needed a closer, and if Helsley's the guy that we had seen before New York, they've got the guy. But are you surprised they haven't prioritized the bullpen a little bit more?
I agree. I think the bullpen is a little thin after yesterday's trade, but again, you can find relief pitchers as you go. There are so many good guys out there, middle, late, in between guys. You can find help in the bullpen much easier than other places. And as you know, Glenn, in this day and age, having versatility in the infield, guys, the Miguel Rojas's of the world who can play shortstop, second base, the Ernie Clements of the world who is great defensively at second and third. When you have that kind of flexibility in the infield that Blaze Alexander can bring, it really, really helps your team. And it's definitely the way that baseball is going. I didn't have any problem with the move yesterday, but yes, they are they could use an upgrade in their bullpen, even though they have the closer that they need.
Tim, I realize I should have asked you that. Do you think they should have paid the price? I mean, this is one of the greatest AAV contracts we've ever seen given out to a pitcher. Should they have been willing to do that for Framber Valdez, or is there too much risk involved?
Look, that guy, his postseason record is great. He's got a curveball and a sinker that nobody can hit. That combination is devastating, but that's still a tremendous amount of money to give to someone who is very proven. He's very durable. He's got great postseason experience, but I don't think you can blast the Orioles for, not going above that, because that is a pretty hefty tag that he got.
And I kind of share that opinion. I think my issue is less about Valdez and more about, on the whole, like that none of these guys ended up being the guy that worked out for the Orioles. And I think the other thing that I've dealt with is because the Orioles have been so reluctant to spend draft capital on pitching and haven't really been able to develop it, at some point did they need to accept a tax? Like we see the Blue Jays are willing to pay a tax, right, for pitching. They know that's what it takes to get a player to go to Toronto. We will go past their market value in order to get them. Should the Orioles be willing, because they don't draft and develop pitching in this regime, to similarly pay a tax in order to get those guys that might go beyond the player's market value?
Well, the easy answer is yes, of course they should, but it's just not that simple. I mean, David Rubenstein has a lot of money, but to say, you just gotta go blowing past the cap and do whatever it takes, give Dylan Cease $210 million when the Blue Jays have this enormous payroll as it is. So I see your point, but there has to be some sort of fiscal responsibility to get the right guy at the right time, and maybe it just hasn't happened yet for the Orioles.
Oh, that's fair. Tim Kurkjian, again, Tuesday night down in Rockville at Woodmont Country Club as part of the panel to announce Team Israel's roster for the World Baseball Classic. Go to israelbaseball.org right now in order to register. It's free. It's a great event that you'll want to be a part of. And, Tim, you want to get a quick plug in for the podcast as well?
Yeah, is this a great game or what? My son Jeff and I have been doing this. We're in year number 3. Can't wait to start spring training, and then we do one a week during the off season once the week starts. Spring training starts. We'll do 3 a week. It's the most fun I've ever had doing anything in this business because I'm doing it with my son. We laugh and we learn. We get some really good guests, and hopefully people enjoy the people that we interview especially.
Tim Kurkjian, always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Okay, Glenn. Thank you.
It's Tim Kurkjian with us here on GCR. Again, I can't. This is the thing we talk about. There's nuance, there's subtlety to these conversations. I can't scream about specifically not getting Framber Valdez. I can't lose my mind about that uniquely. But I can say that the problem was you needed to go to the top of the rotation and you didn't. And as I said, if it were to end up being Gallen, that doesn't mean that Gallen couldn't be that guy. So I said, I think there's an argument that if they really wanted Gallen, they probably could have had Gallen by now. I think this goes back to this Pythagorean model that the Orioles use under Michael Elias. Look, the easiest thing to do is to be able to convince an owner that it wasn't worth spending money on something. They don't need a whole lot of convincing. You go in there with some fancy numbers that they may or may not understand. Hey, look, we think that if we can project that Kyle Bradish pitches X number of innings this year, that this is the way he pitches, and that Trevor Rogers pitches X number of innings this year, this is how he'll pitch. And if they can do all of that, and Mike Elias can say, and that's why I just don't know that it's worth, and I'm not saying this is what he's done, this is hypothetical. I just don't know that it's worth spending X amount of dollars on Zach Gallen. It's the easiest thing in the world for an owner to do. So you don't want to spend my money? All right. Sounds good. I'm willing to listen to it. I am not enamored with Zach Gallen or Chris Bassett, certainly not with Justin Verlander. The argument that I've heard from a couple of people, Nick Pivetta, who else is on that list? Of guys that are still available.
Well, Pivetta's not available, right?
Who am I thinking of?
Of Gallen, Bassett.
There's somebody else that's on the list.
I know there was one more. But Giolito.
Oh, yeah, Giolito. Thank you. That's what I meant. I'm not enamored with any of them. But this is who's out there. And I think you need more pitching depth. I don't. It's one thing to say, well, you've got 5 starters. Yes.
Nick Martinez is available.
I was thinking of Nick Martinez, actually. I just forgot Giolito. I was thinking of Nick Martinez.
Zach Littell, Patrick Corbin, Eric Fetty,
well,
finally.
That's what Drew said from day one. It was always going to be Eric Fetty.
Oh, God.
I'm not, by the way, I'm not, I would be opposed to it being.
Just Eric Fetty?
Yes.
Fetty and Verlander.
But somebody would say, why wouldn't at this point, why wouldn't you sign, say, Bassett and Verlander? Strength in numbers. You know, that's what Tim Kurkjian just brought up. If you have 4 threes, is that
Verlander will spend 3 months on the IL anyway. So.
Correct. And Dean Kramer's not going to be good for the first month and a half of the season because he never is. And again, when you say, well, if they don't,
but he's got World Baseball Classic for the first 6 weeks, first couple weeks now.
You think that's going to ramp him up?
Yeah.
You think that? I'm not counting on Dean Kramer.
Maybe we get July Dean in April.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe not. But I get it. Like you can say you physically have enough pitchers that you have a rotation as of today. Like if opening day were tomorrow, you physically have enough pitchers to say we can go out here and do this. We've got it. We can do it. What we know, maybe that's not true because Zach Eflin, I don't know if we know is ready to start this season or not. That to be determined on Zach Eflin. But the point is, they seem to have 5 starting pitchers on their roster. And then, of course, the other guys that could be options, like the Poviches of the world and the Suarez of the world, who could start if, say, Zach Eflin's not ready to start the season. But if Zach Eflin's not ready to start the season, of course, you'd be better off having Lucas Giolito start and not Albert Suarez. Guys are going to get hurt. You need 7 starting pitchers. Solving for Dean Kramer will never be the thing that I'm worried about, and that's not a knock on Dean Kramer. It's that if Dean Kramer has to be your long man and spot starter, that's okay. And if that means that Albert Suarez is now pitching a more specialized role out of the bullpen, that's okay too. I don't know if you've heard, but you don't really have a full bullpen at the moment. these guys don't address the problem the Orioles said they had. The Orioles said they had a top-of-the-rotation problem. These guys don't address it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it either. It's this weird, I'm not going to be fired up if later today we find out the Orioles sign Chris Bassett. I'm going to sort of nod politely. Kind of like trading for Shane Baz. I'm going to nod politely. Okay. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's both things can be true. You will not have addressed the top of the rotation. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to strengthen the back end of your rotation either. There does have to be a fifth starter. Make it as good of an option as you possibly can. You're going to use 6 starters at some point this season. Kyle Bradish has thrown 71 total innings over the last 2 years. I was going back and forth with Paul about it, and Paul will be doing. I think Paul and Jeremy are doing the bat around together tomorrow, 10 a.m. But like Paul's argument is, Kyle Bradish is as good as as even Framber Valdez, and like maybe, but you cannot rely on someone who has pitched 71 innings over the span of 2 years to be your workhorse ace. And I get it. The answer at this point is you're not going to have one, or you might not have one until the deadline if you're good enough that it's worth trying to pursue one. So you need Kyle Bradish to be as close to that as he possibly can be for someone who's pitched that little. But because of that, you're going to want to go to a six-man rotation at some point. At some point, you're going to have to find a way to ease the workload on Kyle Bradish so that if you are in the postseason, you have Kyle Bradish available to you and not wearing down in September. So yes, you needed top-of-the-rotation pitching, and that would have also helped the back end of the rotation, right? Because we know how math works. If suddenly Framber Valdez is your 1, then Kyle Bradish is your 2, Trevor Rogers, even Griffin can figure this out.
What? I had to figure it out before you did, actually.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm not
John
sure.
Means is available.
John Means is available. I love John Means. God bless him. I love him.
Was with Abernathy in Cleveland last
Thank
year.
you. I love John Means. What are you trying to get me to say here?
Sign John Means.
That'd
be the one where just a hat tip.
I love John Means. That's what I've got
Jumpin'
for you.
jacks.
I love John Means. I'm going to say it, and that's as far as I'm going to say it. I love John Means. God bless him. Yes, you failed on upgrading the top end of the rotation, but they still should prioritize upgrading the middle and the back end of the rotation as much as they possibly can. And pray to God that Kyle Bradish is ready to be that guy for as much of the season as possible. And that Trevor Rogers is as close to he possibly can be to what he was last year. Pray that all those things work out. And then still, even if all those things do work out, go acquire a legitimate starting pitcher at the deadline.
We got Blaze Alexander now, so.
They do have Blaze Alexander. They do have that.
We don't have to worry about any of that.
Come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get Tubular to wind things down for a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our annual Best of issue, celebrating the top people, performances, and moments of 2025 in local sports. On the cover, we recognize 4 of the most significant athletes of the year: Orioles pitcher Trevor Rogers, Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, Maryland basketball star Derek Queen, and our 2025 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Pressbox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
At Live, we want to say thanks to our community with our biggest giveaway yet. Thanks a Million free slot play giveaway. Join us every Friday in February for your chance to win a share of $1 million in free play, including a grand prize of $75,000 in free play. You could be one of 25 winners each week. So what are you waiting for? Thanks a Million, only at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
That's the break Maryland needs.
See if they can turn it into points on this.
Griffin trying to editorialize really wants to share the Andre Mills dunk from last night. How'd the game go?
Didn't go good.
No.
Yeah.
It sure didn't.
But, you know,
there was a
if
dunk.
the school doesn't want us to be excited about the team, I'm going to try and highlight the little things that maybe are good.
What was good about last night?
Andre Mills dunking the basketball.
One guy had one dunk?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you are a Washington Wizards fan. Maybe you are. I had an interesting back and forth this morning because, who was it? I think Jeff Goodman threw himself into the fray of
Courtesy of Big
talking
Ten
about.
Network.
Yeah, sure, whatever that means. Hang on a sec. I got to find this. How this started. This was Troy Mashear. He's with Bet Rivers. Sent out a tweet that said Maryland has 14 losses. 13 of the 14 losses were by double digits. 1 by 40 or more points, 3 by 30 or more points, 1 by 20 or more points, 8 by 10 to 19.
All right, so they're not losing. They're usually losing by 10. Okay, so so what?
They've lost 5 by 20 or more.
Yeah.
Jeff Goodman of all people responded to that tweet and said, "Buzz is diabolical enough to bottom out in year 1 so everyone can say what an incredible job he does in year 2 when they go to the NIT or the Crown." It's a wild thing for Jeff Goodman to say because I can't figure out if he's friendly with Buzz Williams and he's trying to poke fun at him, or he's taking a huge shot at Buzz Williams. I just don't know enough to know. Who knows what the answer to that is? The Inside the Black and Gold account, which I know Ahmed Gafir is, I don't know if he runs the Twitter, or if I know he's the founder of that, but I assume he runs the Twitter, responded by saying, "This is the University of Maryland. You think we are cheering for the fucking NIT?" And when I read that, I said, I get what you're saying. I understand it. But as I said, this was the tweet. I said, this is such an interesting thought. What he's saying is correct. Maryland culturally is very much a, quote, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, unquote, region. But at the same time, what evidence exists that the Maryland basketball program is above this? Or is just relevant in any way in the last 20 years? And I'm not trying to say this, this season uniquely is very much a bottoming out. And somebody brought that up. This season's the worst season in history. Of course we're above this. Well, yes, this. But when if it's Ahmed or whoever it is from that website says, you think we're cheering for the effing NIT? Well, bro, what is Maryland basketball? It's a very difficult conversation to have.
Well, everyone's looking at Nebraska, and they're like, this is why you want to try to win in the Crown or the NIT or whatever. So you can
carry it over to the next
year. Bring this
year.
momentum into next year and start off 15-0.
I mean, look, Maryland's not going to be in anything this year.
Right, correct. But, so next year, then we're in
and so then you're looking down to maybe in year 3 you could be there. I don't know, maybe. But like the sad part is we're talking about Maryland basketball like they're Maryland football. That we're not saying that anything they do, they have no foundation that matters. But their best hope is maybe they could just be like the team that's the sensation this season. Maybe they could just catch lightning in a bottle. That's what we talk about with Maryland football. That's what when people see the success Indiana has, they're like, well, maybe Maryland could be like that. Well, there's no reason to think that. There's no foundation. There's absolutely nothing that says that Maryland could be Indiana. But, well, there was nothing that said that Indiana could be Indiana, so maybe Maryland could be Indiana. It's such a sad statement about Maryland basketball that the best argument you can make is, hey, there's this other team that sucks that doesn't suck anymore. Maybe you could be like them. Well, is there anything about Maryland basketball that says you can? Used to be really good a long time ago.
That's enough.
And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make that I think people are missing with this, which is like, I said this every time the job became available recently. What evidence do we have that this is a good and desirable job? I was disappointed by Buzz Williams. I thought that was a lame hire. But do we know that any of the exciting coaches would have wanted to come to Maryland? For what reason?
We drop a big flag
They
down.
They do. And Red Panda came out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, see?
Like, what is the reason why Maryland basketball should feel as though there is some inherent...
The local recruiting base, I guess? Like, is that, having access to the DMV and, in theory,
which is a good one, but not so dramatically better than every other one that, like, it immediately jumps out and says, you have to be great at it. I don't know what... It's based on what we wanted Maryland basketball to be after winning a national championship. 20 years ago, you wanted that to be that Maryland then was announcing themselves as a dominant basketball program for years to come. But the reality has been anything but that. They're not just not dominant, they're not relevant in any way. Nothing about Maryland is relevant. And I don't say that with joy. I hate it. But I can't, again, you can't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. I can't pretend like it's anything other than that. It is a deeply irrelevant basketball program. Deeply. Maryland basketball is as relevant as Washington? I mean, I would say Nebraska, but Nebraska is dramatically more relevant at this point. They're mildly more relevant than Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers was really exciting a couple years ago with Dylan Harper. Like, Maryland hasn't had a Dylan Harper on the roster. And they had high draft picks, I guess. And Derek Queen is a sensation and perhaps Rookie of the Year in the NBA. But he wasn't that type of, phenomenon.
That prospect when they signed him, right?
Right.
Is there a way? Is there a way that this Buzz Williams hire can maybe somehow, like maybe he does the Buzz Williams thing, and the next 3 or 4 years they do win somewhere between 18 to 20 games each year, and they're a 9 seed in the tournament.
So he's Mark Turgeon.
And then that paints the way for whoever the next guy is to
is
lift
that where
program.
Is that what it's come to? Is that like you're like maybe in 5 years they could get a better coach and be good?
I mean, okay, are you?
I know I'm not.
They're not kicking out Buzz Williams.
Obviously,
so,
they're not kicking out Buzz Williams. At least not now.
This is where we're at. I mean, yes, just hope for.
It is
back-to-back
purgatorial as hell, man. It is as purgatorial gets. I can't say anything
to establish that Maryland can at least have some sort of sustained.
But like we know
consistency.
They can. We know they can. They were just in the Sweet 16 a year ago with a really good roster that arguably should have been able to go further than that, but did get themselves caught up in a shitstorm. Not that I think that if they were beating Florida even without that, because obviously Florida was the best team in the country. But arguably had a better than 16 arguably had a roster that at least starting 5 that should have been good enough to be considered like a top 12 team in the country type of deal. We know they can, and you can most places. But there's no inherent right to it. There's no just go to Maryland and print money. That doesn't exist. This is not a program that can raise the coach. The coach has to raise the program. Has to. And that's, why I'm not even depressed. I'm just detached.
I mean, there is when you have to establish that you are good, I guess. But, when things are going good and they sell out Xfinity Center, like
there's a cool atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. Like
that is neat. I would say that most places when
are
you're
able to do that,
when you're good, like this is the tough part about it. That's a better argument for like, hey, even when you're bad, this place is supportive. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to get that at Maryland. This goes back to that we are too practical. We do not just love you because you're the coach. That was the thing that I think that Mark Turgeon struggled with the most. Like there are places where just being the coach of the big program is enough to make you a celebrated, revered figure.
On campus, right? Like
not just on campus, in the community. Like when you go out and do things. And I think Mark Turgeon struggled in the early years at Maryland. Like with, obviously, the end, it was a little bit uglier than that. But at the end, it was just like, you're just a guy. You're not special because you're the Maryland basketball coach. The Maryland basketball coach is special if they warrant being special. Remember, this fan base largely wanted Gary Williams fired 2 months before his first Final Four run when they lost at home to Florida State on Valentine's Day.
So they did play in the regular season.
What's that?
They did play in the regular season. Maryland.
They did.
State.
Yes, that year.
Oh,
that
okay.
year. Don't read ahead. We don't do that until tournament time. Don't. Lost at home to Florida State on Valentine's Day. Not even 2 months. A month.
Yeah.
A month before. A month and a half before reaching their first Final Four. And the response to that was a bottom for this Maryland program. And the response was, he's got to go. It is not. We're not going to revere you just because your title is coach. It's never going to happen. And I think that happens less and less at other places too. Like even the places where, like I think Mark Turgeon felt that way because at Kansas that was the way that it went. And Roy Williams, despite the fact that Roy Williams had not won a title, was treated that way. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same. I mean, Bill Self's won a couple, so like. He should be kind of revered that way. But it is plausible that in the years between Bill Self's first and his second, that there might have been a point at which Kansas fans were down and not celebratory. Some of it is, the way that social media has changed. And I don't know how many places that it exists where if you're just the coach, that there's a reverence that comes with that. And certainly in places where it's less pro-centric, I think there's still more of that. Like, I do think Kansas is the great, like, at Kansas, you go out in the community, you're a big deal because Kansas basketball is a big deal. It's one of the things I say about Nebraska. Like, we can joke about Nebraska, but Maryland would travel to Nebraska mid to terrible Nebraska teams, and there would be huge crowds. Because what else is there to do in Nebraska? Because that's what they have. So we're going to go and we're going to watch because what else are we doing? And you don't have that here. If you're bad, we're going to do something else. Go to a museum. Go to in D.C., they'll go to Capitals games. Probably not Wizards games. That's,
Yeah, but they're almost free to get into.
That's a great point. Go to Maryland women's basketball games. Something that they got a great win this week after it looked like things were going really looked like things were falling apart, and then they went and got a massive win against Michigan State. Good for them. Like that, we are too practical. So the coach has to raise the program. The program is not going to raise the coach. And my point is not that like this season is what you should expect from Maryland basketball. My point is like we have a 20+ year snapshot. Even let's say post 2004, post when they won the ACC tournament. And maybe that's unfair because that 09 team was when they lost to Corey Lucius in the NCAA tournament, and that team shared an ACC title, and maybe it really is just post-Gary Williams that we're talking about. Post-Gary Williams, what is Maryland basketball? What is the comparable? Most programs have snuck in a Sweet 16 at some point. We just don't remember because there's nothing. Making a Sweet 16 is not an accomplishment for a major market. I don't know how many Sweet 16s.
Northwestern, I guess. They may have never made it.
Well, we know Nebraska's never won an NCAA tournament game, so I assume that
I know that's what Northwestern was in that bucket for a while.
So I think you're probably right about it. If we said, here, maybe we can get the internet to help us. How many men's basketball? How many major conference men's basketball programs? This is a great question. How many major conference? Don't look it up because I'll have it. Major conference.
Northwest.
Calm down. All right.
Northwestern Nebraska
have not reached a Sweet 16.
There's probably gonna be a little. Well, it can't be too many.
Since 2010. Right? Is that about the fair?
Yeah. Because there are programs that haven't done it. Obviously, Nebraska and Northwestern.
We know, right? We know that a few of them have. Now, this thing is thinking. I did ask AI. I don't love using AI, but in this case, I thought it was so unique that it was.
Trying to think of SEC. Georgia, I guess, hasn't been, but they
Georgia was decent
they were to start this year, and then they got an SEC play and have been more 500-esque. It's the Big 12 is like the SEC of last year. Big 12.
Re-sign in. Jesus Christ.
to your AI account?
Well, the AI account is connected to an email address. And the email makes me re-sign.
I would think if we're doing just the past 15 years, I would think Georgia definitely is in that bucket.
I have no idea if Georgia's in that bucket or not. I think that you're right.
Anthony Edwards, but they weren't good.
I think you're right that Georgia hasn't been good. But is it possible that Georgia snuck in a Sweet 16 somewhere where we just weren't paying attention? All right, I have to re-ask the question. Oh, you always pay attention?
Yeah.
How many major conference men's basketball programs have not reached
Arizona State's probably had a good year
Sweet
in there.
16? Arizona State was definitely the type of program I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Since 2010.
What do you classify BYU's had really good runs, but
then they're in the Big 12 now. I guess
UCF
we call
you can't
that.
really count. I guess.
I don't think that really.
All
right. This is who they think the list is. This is who we can cross check this. Georgia is on the list.
All right, knew it.
16
power,
which is to be fair,
in the last 15
probably
years.
more than I expected it to be. Right? I thought the number would be smaller than that.
Start throwing out guesses. Boston College.
Apparently, Boston College must have made one at some point because they're not on this list. Again, I'm getting this from AI, so this is not definitive.
So it's 100% correct. They made the Sweet 16 in 2006, the last time Boston College did.
When?
2006.
Okay, so then this is a bad list.
Yeah, potentially. But so they have made it. All right, so not Boston College. Or technically, I guess.
All right. We don't need to do this.
Virginia Tech made it. Virginia Tech made it with Buzz. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to think of those comparable. Stanford, what's their best finish? Or in recent memory.
I think this list is bad. I think this is what you get. It's AI slop, I think, is what happens. So I think this list is inaccurate.
Stanford made the Sweet 16 in 2014. But Maryland's made it, what?
But what I'm saying is that, just making a Sweet 16 is not an accomplishment for a major, unless you're, again, Nebraska or Northwestern, where it's never happened. Making a Sweet 16 is not an accomplishment.
Cal was 93.
It's an anomaly for the most part. I don't know how to have the conversation appropriately. I'm not saying that I don't think it should be. It should be better than this. But how much better should it be? Everything post Gary Williams would tell you not a whole lot. Mildly better than this.
Would people be happy if I guess, I don't know. Because the goal line would change.
I think Patrick made a really good point the other day. Mark Turgeon won 66% of his games as a Maryland basketball coach. Obviously at the end, we have no idea what the 2020 team would have been because, as I always remind everybody, they were showing some serious cracks down the stretch.
Just got to get in.
But there were years where they were top 10, top 15 types of teams deep in the season under Mark Turgeon. And Mark Turgeon was never a beloved figure, never a particularly popular figure at Maryland. There was still this desire that Maryland could be a power, not a team that was flirting with success.
Before March of 2025, was Kevin Willard far more popular than?
I don't know that he was far more popular. I kind of did back and forth with somebody yesterday who was like, to you, every coach isn't a cultural fit. I'm like, no, ironically, Kevin Willard was a cultural fit. The way he left was bullshit. But that's only somewhat on him. A lot of that's on Maryland. Like, everybody failed in that process. But culturally, Kevin Willard was a shoot it straight, shoot from the hip, be a little bit too honest sometimes, cuss a little bit. Like, he was kind of one of us. As I said the other day, Gary Williams was an asshole, but some of us are assholes too. We can live with that. What we don't like is lying or evasive or any of that.
Not speaking.
Hiding. We don't like any of that. Mark Turgeon's cultural problem was he was too aw shucks Midwestern. He was like, he wanted people to just be nice because he was the coach. And that was never going to be a fit here. And that doesn't mean there weren't people that mistreated Mark Turgeon. I want to make that abundantly clear. I do think that a percentage of the fan base, I heard the stories of some things that fans had done, like to his car and to his home, completely unacceptable. But he couldn't believe. I remember the day I knew that it was never going to work for Mark Turgeon at Maryland was the day where he said that he couldn't bring his son to the game because people around his son at the last game had said mean things about his dad. And with respect to Mark Turgeon, I get it. Like, it's tough. I'm a dad. I understand. Like, that, you need passion. You have to pray. There was a great clip this week of Wes Miller. Did you see that? I thought this was a tremendous clip. Wes Miller, who is someone that I think a lot of us were high on and were like interested in as a potential coach. Wes Miller, who's now at Cincinnati, they lost, I think blew a lead and lost to West Virginia. And after the game, Wes Miller goes up to a group of fans that appear to be here. You can, I don't know how much I don't know how good the audio is and if it'll play well, but you can share it, sure. There's a group of fans, and who knows what they're saying and if they're booing or if they're, but Wes Miller goes over and says this to them.
You guys deserve to be frustrated. It ain't okay. I understand the responsibility of this job. These results ain't okay.
Thank you.
And you guys deserve to be frustrated. But I'm a human too, and nobody's more frustrated than I am. Trust me, I care deeply about this.
Thank you. Show it. But, yeah.
I mean, you need fans to be pissed off. You need fans to be passionate. And I appreciated that. And I'm not trying to pretend like Buzz Williams hasn't said, hey, we know the results aren't good enough. But, like, go out of your way. Go meet them.
I appreciate the 1,500 of you that did show up and
go
personally
go personally approach them. Go find them somewhere. Apologize. This is so much worse than it should be. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're having to put up with this. Go out of your way. It's not going to fix the season. There was a goof on Twitter yesterday. Oh, you're mad because you don't know enough about Guillermo Del Pino. Like, that's going to fix it. It's not going to fix it. But go out of your way. I thought Patrick said it really well. You want to feel like you're part of something special. As pissed off as those Cincinnati fans are at what's going on with Cincinnati basketball, they felt when they left that night like they were part of something special because their coach walked over to them and acknowledged them and said, you know what, you guys are right. And in comparison, Cincinnati's only a game under 500, and they've won 3 conference games. Go out of your way. Go ask if you can Get groups of Maryland fans together.
I mean, it's definitely embarrassing. Just like because they still do play that promo on the
I have
screen.
Maryland pride.
Yeah, well, that one's not even. That one's somewhat enjoyable. Like it is always fun to see Bruno Fernando's face pop up there. But when they play Scott Van Pelt saying there's days where that building will not let you lose, and I'm sitting there Sunday, they're down by 30 to Purdue.
Nobody there,
and it's pathetic. It's just it's.
So go do everything in your power. Ask if you can call into podcasts, Zoom into podcasts. Somebody says, this is about he not doing your show. Do 70 other shows. I don't care if it's mine. I mean, I'd talk to Buzz Williams, but it'd be a tough time to talk to him. Go do everything.
When you're always talking, then people don't feel like talking about how bad the team is anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they want to know,
Go.
They want to talk about Baba and whoever's next. Like,
be willing to answer a question about Pharrell Payne. Be willing to say, look, man, obviously he's not going to be back this season, but we are hopeful to have him next year, and that should be really good. Try to talk up, hey, Darius Adams has played. We recognize that. We recognize this hasn't been good enough, but we've really got a vision for how next year can be better. We really do. Do all of those things. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you. Was there anything that we didn't cover this week that we needed to cover? I feel like I never really talked about the Australian Open much. Did we get it? I feel like on Tuesday we might have brought it up briefly. I don't know. Yeah, you didn't even send out picks. I told you could send out picks.
Oh, you did? I thought you were like, what's the point?
I mean, there is no point, but you could send it out and put it on the website. Like, there is a football game.
Now?
I mean, it's...
Who you got?
I got the Patriots to cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to hear, like, I listened to everything Aaron Schott said when he was on with us, and it is kind of an interesting matchup. And I still don't like trusting Darnold, but I just see the Seahawks as the better football team.
I mean, I definitely think they're the better football team, but
I think they cover. I'll take the Seahawks. I would lay it with the Seahawks if I had to pick this
there
week.
You go.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, send them out. See if people want to get their picks in. We did have an entire conversation about that.
Yeah,
I
know. And then
you could send them out.
Forget what happened.
We're just not going to do a segment about it because there's no reason to do a segment. 0 point to that. All right. Tidbit is brought to you today by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. If you missed Stan and Andy Koska earlier this week, you can find it, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Stan shows are always sponsored by the Costas Inn with 2 great locations, the OG on North Point Boulevard in Dundalk and the new location in Timonium at the Grandstand.
Jalen Johnson, your boy.
Why is he my boy?
Because you knew.
Oh, I definitely
that he is an all-star.
I definitely was quite aware.
He's an all-star representing which team?
The Hawks.
Yeah, the Hawks. There you go. See, I told you. No, he's your guy. 7th player since 1976 to have. Because last night he had 22, 16 rebounds, and 15 assists. So 22, 16, 15 for Jalen Johnson. He is. It's the second time in his career he's had that. Had a 20, 15, and 15 game. Only the 7th player with multiple 20, 15, 15 games since 1976. He named the 6 others with
20, 15, 15.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Multiple times.
I'd be nuts to not say, like, Westbrook.
Yes, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. I guess I'd probably nuts to not say Harden.
You might be a little nuts. No James Harden.
I mean, he had a lot of triple-doubles, dog. Jokic?
Nikola Jokic, yes. Jokic, Westbrook, 4 others.
How about Giannis?
Giannis is on the list.
Okay. Doncic?
Luka's on the list. Those are the 4 active. 2 others no longer active.
Jason Kidd.
Not Jason Kidd.
The problem is none of these numbers are so big. It'd be one thing if it was like a 50-point, then they could definitely not be Jason Kidd, but he had tons of triple-doubles. I mean, Oscar Robertson.
No, not Oscar Robertson. Since 76.
Oh, okay.
So actually, I would assume Oscar's probably on here, but just for the sake of minimizing the list.
Man. Not active. 2015-15. Magic?
Yes, Magic is on the list.
Okay. Just trying to think of guys that had a lot of triple-doubles.
This guy, not necessarily
Larry
known.
Bird?
Yep, Larry Bird. Okay.
Really?
There you go. Yeah.
He's pretty. Larry Bird had a lot of triple-doubles.
I mean, I guess when you just think of it, when we do the all-time triple-doubles list and stuff, he doesn't typically.
Where is he on the all-time? I feel like he's like a top 10 triple-doubles guy. I feel like he was a guy that had a ton of triple-doubles. My next one would have been Wilt Chamberlain. I know he's definitely a guy that had a lot of triple-doubles, but you just don't think of him for his assists.
Let's see. Most triple-doubles all time is, of course,
Russell Westbrook.
Russ. And then no, Jokic is tied with the Big O. Larry Bird is 11th. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Larry Bird had a lot of triple-doubles. How many did he have for his career?
59.
Yeah. I mean, that's not I don't know why you were surprised by that.
I mean, I guess just because, because these lists are always dominated by the guys that, we named: Russ, Jokic, Oscar.
It's the reason why you name those guys whenever you have a triple-double question. All right, very good. Tubular, brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, winding down just like maybe a little bit more than a week left for the best of issue of Press Box before it makes way for a new print issue with a football theme. Go get it for free today at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. And you can read it for free as well at PressBoxOnline.com. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise this weekend. The Olympics are underway. U.S. women got a win in hockey yesterday, which was good. Today, the big thing is the opening ceremony. It actually starts at 2 o'clock on NBC, and then they'll re-air it tonight at 8 as well. A lot of lacrosse today because they don't want to play tomorrow. ESPN Plus for Iona Navy at 4.
Are we getting weather tomorrow?
It's just cold. It's just miserably cold, like Arctic cold tomorrow. Mount St. Mary's LIU at 1 on NEC Front Row. A lot of women's lacrosse as well. This is the first weekend of the women's lacrosse season. Navy, Virginia, 4 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Maryland, Syracuse, women at 5 on ESPN Plus. Tomorrow, Big Ten Network, Maryland, Nebraska women's basketball at 2. CBS Sports Network, Towson-Hofstra men at 4.
Got a good feeling about that one.
Yeah?
Because it's just so reverse logic.
Oh, yeah. They would. Of course, they would lose it. Oh, no, they didn't lose at home. They won.
They got killed at home by Hofstra. That was the game we went to.
That was the game we went to.
Who
did they have the dramatic comeback against?
Drexel.
That was Drexel.
Yeah, Drexel.
ESPN Plus tomorrow. As of right now, Johns Hopkins women are supposed to open up the season at Liberty at noon. Loyola basketball at BU at 1. American basketball Navy at 4. Delaware State at Coppin State at 4:30. Mount St. Mary's at Iona at 7. Morgan hosts UMES tomorrow at 4. Big Ten Network Plus, Maryland lacrosse opening the season against Loyola inside Jones Hill House at 2:30 tomorrow. Olympics tomorrow includes USA-Finland women's ice hockey at 10:40 a.m. on USA. And, of course, Sunday, the Maryland men are at Minnesota at 2 o'clock. Olympics coverage throughout the day.
Minnesota just knocked off Michigan State. Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, good. And the Super Bowl at 6:30 on NBC. Non-sports.
The Puppy Bowl. How do you leave
that
out of
you didn't even have to put that on the list. I put it on the list.
Puppy Bowl 22 at 2 o'clock on Sunday. The good appetizer for the big one, and that's pretty much it. Queen of Chess, good documentary on Netflix. It chronicles a 12-year-old Hungarian prodigy named Judith Polgar and her rise into the male-dominated world of international chess. And it was from the late 90s, maybe. Like when this actually happened, so it looks pretty well done. The White House on Fox Nation.
Sure.
That show.
What is that?
I don't know. If you watch Fox Sports, it keeps popping up.
No.
But it's just the White House. It's like a president's show, little series on Fox Nation. So,
all right,
somewhat notable.
All right, very good.
Not a whole lot.
Thanks to everybody at PressBox. Everything else you can find at GlennClarkRadio.com. Thanks today to Tim Kurkjian. Thanks also to Clark Judge. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the.
Good one for Fallon tonight. He's got Chris Hemsworth, Lil Uzi Vert, and Mr. Beast.
Great. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Great. You know the world we live in? Mr. Beast might be the musical guest. I don't know.
Apparently he's featured on the new season of Survivor, which
enjoy.
I don't know.
Yep, enjoy. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Volo Sports, Nick's Fish House, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, as well as the Costas Inn, the Baltimore area High's Dairy Stores, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org, countysports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. The Bat Around tomorrow morning with Paul, and again, I think Jeremy at 10 o'clock. I'll be on BAL tonight, 7 to 11. Devin Hester is going to join me on that program. And Brian Sosu, Olympic bobsledder from Laurel, who had not participated in bobsled until, recently and is now in the Olympics as a bobsledder. It's a crazy story. Looking forward to talking to him about it tonight. All right. Have a great weekend. Go all the local hoops teams, all the local lacrosse teams that are playing anyway. Duke sucks.